Yeah, you kicking me out?
We'll talk about it.
All right, it's 2 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for coming out for another meeting. We're live streaming as usual. If anybody's watching under the panels meetings tab, there's the agenda and the presentation for today's meeting. For those of you that are here, if you need a restroom, it's out the door, down the hall to the right. If we have to vacate this room for any reason whatsoever, we go back out the front door, left down the hill, and meet with the rest of the people in this office building in the back parking lot. We haven't had to do that, and hopefully we won't have to. Let's go ahead and go around for those that are here or watching with our introductions. And Henry, start with you.
Henry Weinbeck, Express Car Wash Consultant. Brad Sheffield, Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Mark Graham, Albemarle County.
Chip Boyles with the MPO and Planning District. Pete Bush with CMA Properties.
I was aware that Chris and Morgan would not be here today, so they let me know in advance. Lou, how about this?
Lou Hatter, 29 Solutions Communications.
Hal Jones, VDOT Charlottesville resident.
Linda Colafita.
Kevin Messina, Philip Chiquette.
Dave Covington, VDOT Charlottesville residency.
Joel Denunzio, VDOT Charlottesville residency.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll boogie into last time we had 24 viewers a year ago, about twice that many. We were still in the process of the RFQ back then, so I imagine we probably had a good audience of contractors and consultants as well. So fewer people, fewer streams, but the average stream was 42 minutes, which is really a lot longer than it's about 2 or 3 times longer than it has been recently. So whoever tuned in a couple of weeks ago tuned in longer, and that could have been for John Martin's presentation, the other John Martin's presentation at the end on placemaking. We got 4 comments into the Route 29 Solutions inbox over the last couple of weeks. There were no new provide input postings. A couple have come in just today, but there were none with our last reporting period. Still no calls to the design build project hotline, and you never know to be disappointed about that or just happy that nobody's called. There is a toll-free number, and maybe I'll advertise that a little bit more in case someone does need it. The emailed comments, one was actually a repeat of a comment we got a few times from the same individual that just opposes the, not a fan of the RIO GSI. One comment suggested that we should be building an elevated expressway from Best Buy to the airport in the median. Interesting. One suggested that bike lanes be added on existing Berkmar between Woodbrook and Hilton Heights to provide a complete bike connection. So I offer that comment for how you might want to take that forward. And one also was a bike comment, requested consideration of bike lanes, sidewalks, and crosswalks, just in general to improve safety. Those were the comments that came in. As far as reporting on feedback from the last meeting, we agreed that Mark would give us an update on the September 9th meeting where the resolution of intent, I think was the right way to say it, resolution of intent was discussed.
And as we said, it did happen on September 9th, and with a strong encouragement from the board to move it forward as quickly as possible.
Okay.
Since then, Mark, is there a way to hold any of those public hearings concurrently?
We could.
Could you just draft a pros and cons email to the board on that?
Sure, will do.
All right, an update on the, hi Karen.
That's a great idea, Brad. I think it's been done before.
I'm just not sure what the drawbacks might be, so.
I've seen it happen in other municipalities,
Yeah.
instances of.
If you could point out if it's happened as well. I don't want to set a precedent, but I also don't want
All right.
to prolong it. Sorry.
No problem at all. The Business Assistance Committee?
Real quickly, since our last meeting, the core group just met earlier today, as a matter of fact, received a report from the consultants, so they're working on some strategies, both short, long-term.
And now when you say consultants, you mean SIR?
SIR.
Yeah, okay.
I keep getting the letters. SIR.
Yeah.
So, yes, they put together some strategies. They're moving forward, both immediate, medium-term, longer-term, looking at logos, different types of whether events, marketing types of strategies, as well as the branding for the area.
Okay.
And some of that will be presented to the larger group that includes the dozen businesses and chamber on Monday afternoon.
All right,
at,
good.
5, and so we'll be able to get some direct input for the first time. The first meeting was more of just an organizational information sharing, but we'll really be sharing ideas at Monday night.
Okay, good. I touched base with them on the way down here today, just to remind them to get kind of their scope and budget to me, so I could get that part of it covered under the VDOT contract. Okay.
And we have, just from an administrative standpoint, we're looking at kind of a three-way agreement between us, the county, and VDOT.
Okay.
That's our
To manage the 300.
300,000.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. Any questions for Chip on that? All right. We talked about meeting at the Northwest Regional Office, and we settled on October the 15th for that meeting. And since our last panel meeting, I found out that we can do live streaming there, and thank you, Joel. Joel chased that down for us. So probably what we'll do is fix our agenda. So for the first part of the meeting, for the first part of the day, we'll have our meeting at 2 as usual. So the audience that's used to the live streaming will be able to tune in just as they always do. We'll keep it a short meeting to about an hour, leaving us an hour to tour the Northwest Region office and see how they're able to monitor traffic and the new phase 1 operation of the adaptive signals. So Joel, thank you again for chasing that down. We didn't think we'd be able to do the live streaming, and now I'm glad to know that we will. On Berkmar, and I know this is pretty much the same comment I gave you a couple of weeks ago, so not stalling. We are looking at some design options that might work. I believe there are some opportunities there that might work to let us move on with our permitting for the bridge just as we are, and to tee it up so in the future, should there be an additional 2 lanes, that the structure that's there could accommodate a future 4-lane situation. And it just takes some time while everybody's doing other things to work through this. I'm giving Dave plenty of ideas to discuss with the design team. So I'm not forgetting that, and that's why I'm going to keep this up here until we have something to bring back to you. It doesn't mean we'll be able to do it, but we're on in terms of looking at some different ideas. Something other than, well, build one bridge and let's build another later, or just build a bridge twice as wide. There are other things that can be done. Okay, This came up the last meeting, that what about fire suppression systems during temporary water shutoffs? And Dave has some information on that.
Yeah, I've talked with Albemarle County Service Authority as well as the design builder. Albemarle County Service Authority handles the water service for all those affected businesses. There are not a lot of businesses that are really affected during these shutdowns overnight to make these tie-ins to the water lines. But for the ones that are, there are backflow preventers in place to prevent, for instance, an alarm going off for lack of pressure. In addition to that, we've looked at adding some mitigation measures to our contingency planning in case something were to happen, having a tanker truck on standby so that if for some reason a fire did happen, it could be dealt with very quickly. We wouldn't have to be relying on hydrants or anything like that. We'd have it right there on site. Unfortunately, the gentleman with Albemarle County Service Authority that I'm working with is at a conference this week, so I'd like to get a little more information from him next week. But right now, we've got our plan in place where there should not be any interruptions for alarms or responses from service providers, and a contingency plan on the nights that we have those shutdowns in case there is a fire.
Questions for Dave on that, or?
Thanks for looking into it. If those nuisance alarms are what I was concerned
Right.
about for lack of pressure, so thanks for looking into it.
Well, thanks for bringing it up. It's an important thing that's
Yeah.
helping us plan for unforeseen circumstances.
Okay, all right. We'll go on to our open discussion period, or any suggestions for future agenda items. Mark? Chip? Henry?
Made a pitch in the meantime by email.
Sure.
About marketing. Whatever it falls, it falls. I did my part.
Well, we'll still be talking about that for a while.
Okay.
So, yeah, absolutely. Karen? Brad? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Our design build submission schedule, where did it go? Route 29 widening plans, the 100% plans, came in at the end of the day last Friday. And for those that have requested hard copies in the past, I think there's been 5, Henry, Pete, Morgan, and Mark. I knew Morgan wasn't going to be here, but there are 4 sets over here, so each one of you can pick one up and take it away. Thanks, Dave, for bringing those in. We still have, and upcoming, our first look at enhanced landscaping should be by next meeting, and then by the meeting following that, our first look at the pedestrian lighting on the local lanes. So we'll be keeping tabs on that part of the schedule. Any questions about the schedule?
Well, at one point I had suggested that the pedestrian lighting and the lighting for the roadway should be coordinated or designed as one project rather than 2 separate little projects.
Well, I don't know that they're 2 separate projects per se, but this will be a submission only looking at the local lane lighting.
Yes, the through-lane lighting was done with the plans that we have now as far as the lighting analysis. The local lanes, the pedestrian level lighting was a change to the contract, so that's coming. They're just starting that work now as opposed to having it done with the rest of the design.
But we did ask for also a schedule to put the finishing touches on the architectural treatments, particularly the hardscape part of that.
Yes.
Would that be an opportunity to look at all of this together?
I believe so, and actually, in addition to that, received a proposal from them today to revise our renderings and videos.
Okay.
So what we've got in our design now doing renderings and videos of that as well.
Okay.
Now, that's going to be a
Okay.
little further out, but I think it's going to help to really visualize.
Well, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Actually,
But-
my concern was the lighting, was that the lighting fixtures, didn't come from two separate families, which may be efficient in some cases. But for a project of this type, it would be interesting if we can get the lighting pictures, the aesthetics combined, not just
Right.
engineering. Because there's always a light, because, lighting engineering is one thing, and then there is lighting design as architects see it. And I'm pretty much open-minded
Okay.
that we try to do that so that it works with the architectural design as well.
Okay. Project updates. Dave? Dave, you'll see a few of them spilling over on more than one page now, so just...
Absolutely. A lot of work going on. Well, good afternoon. I'll go over these fairly quickly, but please do ask questions as we go along if you have any. Starting again with the Route 29 250 interchange. Work this week is very similar to what we went over last time. We're into longer duration items now, so continuing the grading in the median. If you drive through there, you'll notice that's getting close to a finished grade, so they can start construction of the curb, which I believe starts next week. Continuing construction of the retaining wall at Best Buy. Stormwater management basin excavation. They had a little lull in that, now they're picking back up. Completing the installation of the conduit along the median for the lights and the signals. So as that grade in the median has come up, they've installed the conduit, they're finishing that up. Continuing the construction of the leveling pad for the MSE wall. MSE wall, as we talked about before, mechanically stabilized earth wall. It's a form of a retaining wall. They construct a leveling pad on the bottom to make sure all the panels are level as you build the wall. That's a rather long wall. Want to make sure everything looks even and is even as they build it. So that's the reason for the leveling pad. And beginning construction of the sanitary sewer relocation along Route 250, which was in conflict with the retaining wall. Next slide. So over the next 2 weeks, we'll see completion of the construction of the retaining wall at Best Buy, completion of the grading activities in the median, continuation of installation of that leveling pad, and beginning of installation of the wall panels. An MSE wall, I'm sure you've seen them before, has those kind of octagonal panels, so they'll start building that wall up, and completion of the sanitary sewer relocation along Route 250. Any questions on the 29-250 project? Okay. Move on to the Woodbrook-Brookmar signal. This week they perform conduit boring and junction box installations. So they bore underneath the road to put the conduit in to pull the wire through. The junction boxes are little handholds that they pull from. Beginning construction of the controller foundations. They're a little bit ahead of schedule on that item. Actually, I drove by this morning and they've actually got one of the controller cabinets already set. So they are ahead of schedule on that. Work in the next 2 weeks, complete the controller foundations, pull wire, set controller cabinets. Again, that already got moved up to this week. So they're about a week or two ahead of schedule on that project. Any questions on that signal reconstruction? Okay. Right grade separated intersection. Similar to 29-250, we're getting into these longer items that drag on for months, I guess, so we'll start seeing a lot more similar things as updates. But beginning the storm drain installation in the northeast and southeast quadrants. So they're finishing up, or getting close to finishing the 18-inch and 24-inch water main relocations, which was a major effort in the utility relocation. So now they're able to go in and start the storm drain installation. And completion of duct bank A and B tie-ins and proof. And what this is, the communication and electric duct banks that they constructed, you have to pull through them and make sure that they're free of obstruction so that the communication companies can come in and pull their wire. Dominion has pulled all of their wire. CenturyLink will begin, I believe, next week in pulling theirs. So that's another big achievement there. Next slide. Over the next 2 weeks, we'll see a continuation of the storm drain, and BMP is the underground stormwater management systems, the best managed practice systems. They'll start the installation of those two structures. They'll start on the one on the north there near the entrance of Albemarle Square, and then later the one on the south side that's underneath the pavement. Continuation of the 18-inch and 24-inch water mains. The majority of the pipe has been put in. Now they need to start working on the tie-ins to the existing system, which is a tricky operation, so we want to make sure we take our time and do that right. They are going to begin, I believe, on the 28th, the gas main relocation. Most of that will be directional boring, which is not a big open trench. They just kind of bore under the ground. So they'll be out there at night doing that work. By the morning, you really won't notice that much has happened at all with regard to the gas main. Milling and pre-excavating for the bridge cap. This is something that they're doing, they hadn't planned on doing, but they agreed that it will make the roadway a lot safer and a lot smoother. They're actually going to mill the pavement down about an inch so that their steel plates are recessed below the pavement so you don't have a bump when you hit those steel plates. I think it's a great idea. And then they'll do some pre-excavation below that to set up or starting to set their piles for the retaining walls. And then again, beginning construction of the retaining wall in the northeast quadrant. So that's starting at night, going in, augering holes, putting the piles in, and backfilling them with concrete, and then getting them covered up for the morning with a steel plate, or backfilling them and paving over them. Any questions on RIO?
Go ahead.
The milling and pre-excavation, how much of those roads is going to be exposed and milled asphalt? I mean, it's essentially pretty rough, right?
It's an 8-foot width that they mill down an inch.
Okay.
And then they go back in. I don't know the length that
It's
they're
only
doing.
8 feet wide?
8 feet wide. That's the width of the steel plates. So there'll be an 8-foot wide section where the steel plates will be recessed down into the pavement. And they have an abrasive material on them, so they're slip resistant. Right. So when it rains, their vehicles aren't sliding all over the place. I believe.
So the cars won't be traveling the milled pavement. The cars will be traveling on top of the steel plate.
Yes.
Yeah, in this case, it's not like a milling before a resurfacing,
Right.
which I think is what you might be thinking of.
Well, I was wondering how much.
Yeah.
How much square footage? I mean.
Well, I think it's 8 feet wide, and I think they're only doing 40 feet at a time. So an 8 by 40 area that'll be milled out with the steel plates put in. And then as they finish those up, they'll do the next section to kind of leapfrog down the road.
Okay.
And there won't be a big line, 400 feet long of steel plates. They'll come back, put in asphalt, mill the next section, move the plates down.
So 8 by 40.
I believe that's the plan right now. That's the number I've heard is 40 feet long. 8 foot is the maximum width because that's the width of the steel plates. So the trench won't be 8 feet below it. There won't be a trench there per se. There'll be augured holes, but the plates are 8 feet wide.
Dave, so if you travel during the day, you don't know anything about the milling. All you know there's a steel plate with the difference that it's not an elevated steel plate.
Yes.
It's a recessed steel plate.
Yes.
That's the difference.
It makes it a much smoother ride. And right now, you hit the steel
into the
plates.
plate, you just drive over the plate at the same level of the top layer of the asphalt.
Yes. Yeah. The plates are 1 inch thick, so they mill down an inch and put the plate on top. Yes.
Dave, you had a closure on Ryle Road East last night for eastbound a portion of eastbound traffic that's related to this. Why don't you just review a bit of what the expectations might be over the next few weeks with respect to that, and how it fits into your work?
Absolutely. We make decisions based on risk, and this was calculated risk. Henry, I know you made that comment. This is what we said we were going to do in the RFP, what we wanted the design builder to do. So earlier this week, we got together. We have weekly meetings on the water line relocation, and we know we're approaching Ryer Road along 29 from both sides, from the south and from the north. And right now, they're ready to cross over Ryer Road from the south. When you make that excavation in Ryer Road, we were looking at different ways of getting traffic around it, and we just realized that the safest and most efficient way to do that is to detour the traffic at nighttime on eastbound Ryer Road on the east side of 29 along Branchlands and Hillsdale, just to keep that traffic away from an open excavation, because that's always a dangerous situation. We want to make sure we have plenty of room. We did that for the first time last night. It worked out very well. We're going to do that again tonight and possibly tomorrow night. We hope that they can finish it all tonight, but if not, there might be a little bit tomorrow night. And then next Monday and Tuesday, we'll do the same thing on the westbound lanes of Rye Road on the east side of 29, if that makes sense. So kind of there, that right turn going from Rye Road
That's
to...
where it got a little bit confusing. I read the email. And when you were on the west side, you still had the detour on the east side, and that kind of lost me in there.
Well, we're on the east side of
Useless.
29, but in the westbound lanes of Rye Road next week.
Okay. It
So
was on
if
a
you're-
diagram I was able to understand.
Okay, okay.
But my wife always claims that she needs to draw a diagram if she wants me to understand something.
Does that clear it up, or do you want?
No, you can explain to me later.
Okay. Okay. So that's what's expected, and they should finish all that up by Tuesday night so that we won't have any more of those detours later next week.
So they should finish east side and west side?
East side and west side.
Done, okay, all
Now,
right.
they'll have to come back later. It's a very tricky operation. What they're doing is installing what we call a jumper. So they're bypassing the existing line, and they're getting all the infrastructure set up. So when they start tying in to the existing water lines, it's basically what we're doing. We have a T now. We're doing a bypass around it. We have to connect in at 3 different places. So they'll come back later, open that excavation back up, do the tie-in overnight, backfill it, have it open to traffic, and everybody have water service the next morning. And the reason we have these weekly meetings, we have VDOT, the design builder, Ravenna Water and Sewer Authority, and Albemarle County Service Authority in these meetings to make sure that everybody's needs are met as far as traffic, water service, and safety. Any questions about that? You're welcome. Okay. So we move on to Route 29 widening. We are reviewing the 100% plans this week, and as Philip mentioned, we do have 4 copies over here. They are broken into 2 sections. It's a pretty extensive set of plans. There is a lot of work going on right now on 29 widening that happened rather quickly. They have finished installation of the first phase of erosion and sediment control in the median, which allows them to do the clearing that's been going on, and that's started last week, will continue through this week, and possibly a little bit into next week, and then after that, we'll see some grading work happen. So they've got all the barrier wall installed on the northbound lanes now, so they can safely work behind that. Now they're going to move over to the southbound lanes, do a little bit of widening in there to make sure we've got enough width offset to the barrier, and then install barrier on the southbound lane. And that will allow them to work in that median during the daytime. They're protected behind barrier wall. They also this week, they submitted the H&HA, that's a hydraulic report, and the drainage report. So those are being reviewed by VDOT as well. Next slide. Over the next 2 weeks, again, installing the erosion and sediment control. They've got the median's done, but they've got some work to do on the outside of the southbound lanes as well. Silt fence, little silt basins, things like that. The barrier wall installation will continue and to probably be done at the end of next week, maybe carry over a little bit into the following week. Complete the median clearing and beginning fill placement in the median. So at night they'll have trucks come in, bring dirt in, dump it, so during the daytime they can spread that dirt out, compact it, and start bringing that median. As you're aware, that median in some locations is very steep, and in some places 15 to 20 feet deep, so they'll bring that up. Any questions on 29 widening? Okay. Burkmar extended, they do plan to clear at the pier locations. I believe that started today. It's not a lot of clearing. They need to get in there so that they can do the archaeological study. That was delayed because of the presence of the northern long-eared back that was recently added to the list of federally protected species. We're outside of the clearing restrictions for that now. They are submitting an advanced abutment A plan. The abutment is the section at the beginning of the bridge on the south side of the bridge. We're taking a close look at that. It's a complex plan, so that's being submitted this week. Resubmittal of the drainage report, stormwater management report, and the hydraulic report. We reviewed all those previously. We had some comments on them, so we're getting resubmittal with those modifications made, and beginning right-of-way offers this week. Over the next 2 weeks, the archaeological exploration, if you remember in the RFP and the contract, there's a requirement to do what we call Phase 3 archaeological study. This is primarily adjacent to the river on the north side, between Ryer Mills Road and the river, and also continue right-of-way offers. I believe that's all. Check the next page.
Dave mentioned Phase 3 for the archaeological work, and that's just a bureaucratic term for a part of the archaeological excavation process that says we've determined that there may be something here that should be excavated and recovered,
yes.
Data recovery, as opposed to preserve in place. Now that could be anything from small shards of pottery to whatever they may find there.
Yeah, and Phase 1 is a visual analysis, so archaeologists walk through to see.
Phase 1 is also data research.
Right. So that was done. VDOT did that.
Literature research.
Phase 2 is the shovel test that you're probably familiar with, where they go through and somewhat randomly, dig a hole and see if they find anything. Well, in this case, in this area, they did. So that's what moved them into Phase 3. And there was a lot of coordination with the Department of Historic Resources in that. They reviewed the plan, approved it, and they're actually going to be involved in the Phase 3 recovery.
How long is the Phase 3 anticipated to run?
The excavation work will likely take, and I've got the detailed schedule on my desk, I believe it's around 3 months. And there are 2 field meetings where the different agencies come together to review what they're doing and agree or disagree on that they're doing it correctly. So there's a little bit of agency coordination in there. And then I believe after that, they actually have to develop an entire report on the document and several steps after that. That'll be completed over the next year or so.
But they're out of the field.
They're out of that.
That's long
Right.
after, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Sure.
Chris isn't here. I don't know if you want to cover, this information came from the city, so.
Yeah, we did receive previously a noise analysis that VDOT reviewed. We're also sharing that with FHWA. We provided, I believe there were 4 comments back to the city. Very minor stuff, nothing that will delay anything, just maybe changing the report a little bit, changing the wording, how things are written. So that's pretty much, we're moving on from that. The city is still working on drafting responses from the comments that VDOT provided from the right-of-way plan review. I think we may even receive that tomorrow. I thought we were going to get it at the end of this week. So they're still working on that. Receive an updated environmental reevaluation from the city. I think probably tomorrow we'll receive that. We haven't received it yet, so waiting on that. Also, upcoming work, submitting the responses for the right-of-way plans, revising the right-of-way limits based on our comments, but also based on, I think, a little bit closer look by the city's engineer. They found some ways to maybe kind of optimize their design a little bit, which I'll give them credit for. I think it wasn't something we asked for, it was just something they did to help make the project better. And then right-of-way proposals and appraisals in September, later this month, and in October. I'm not sure of the right-of-way status yet, but I think they're going to start making offers in October.
There's 2 supplemental comments there. This signal analysis in Greenbrier and Hillsdale, we are going to nail that down before the end of this month and make a decision on that traffic signal. In talking to Chris yesterday and during our regular weekly call on Monday, we initially thought we would have a revised date at this meeting for a new add date. If you recall, Chris confirmed that a December add date didn't look like it was in the cards. The city should have received this week a revised schedule from their consultant and agreed to give I agreed, we agreed, to give the city some time to review that revised schedule to make sure that, I want to make sure of two things. That we have a revised add date that keeps us on schedule to meet an October 31 construction completion. And I know VDOT is continuing to offer and provide as much support as possible to the city to keep everything on track here. But we just need to see what that revised add date is from them.
Thank you, Phil.
How many total parcels do they have to acquire?
Quite honestly,
Or do you know? I don't.
It was 12 or 16.
Oh, okay.
Most of these are rather large parcels.
Yeah.
They're not simple parcels to negotiate, but they are large. There's not a great deal of them. It's just going to be a little bit complex.
Seems like, I'll say what you didn't say, and that is, it just seems like this particular piece of the set of projects has been dragging and dragging and dragging. And one is moving at light speed, and one has yet to get out of the gates. I'm hopeful that, I'm just saying what everybody else in the room is thinking. So
I know.
I'm not running for office.
I know.
But the state has a commitment to this area, and it's not on you guys. I understand that, but I think the city.
Well, I think it's on us to do everything we should do and can do to be supportive. And the add date bothers me a lot, and as the VDOT guys can imagine, had one of them come and said that to me on one of their projects,
We wouldn't do that.
It would have been a lot of fun. But it's concerning. On the other hand, I don't want to force a bad rescheduled date either, so.
Realistic and achievable is what we're looking for, and again, it's our role in locally administered projects to support anywhere we can, and we've renewed that commitment and take a look at the schedule and make sure it's viable.
And I do know that John Lynch has communicated directly with Maurice as well regarding this new schedule.
Yes, we have a meeting on Monday afternoon to talk about that.
All right.
Any other questions? Good, thank you.
Dave, thank you. On September the 9th, we had those changes with the 2 intersection signals and crossovers that came out, and the 2 new ones that went in. As far as the project team goes, we really received 3 emails. Lou and I got one email. We each got an email from a different person with about the same set of observations from ACAC. And then there was the email you sent, Pete, about the left turn situation at Myers Drive. At least speaking for the project office and the residency, we haven't gotten any calls from the public regarding those changes. So keeping your ear to the ground, or any observations that come your way, we would definitely be interested in knowing. Now, since the 9th, some green time was added yesterday to the southbound left turn at 29th Place to allow a little bit more time from southbound traffic turning left into Fashion Square that would be using that. And Dave let me know today that in addition to that, there were 6 other light signals that were modified yesterday. There's 2 others that are in the queue for some signal timing modification. Two no left turn signs were added yesterday at Route 29 and Myers. I shouldn't really say at Myers, but for that U-turn crossover. So there's northbound and southbound. A no left turn sign has been added, and we are continuing to communicate with Albemarle County law enforcement to enforce that particular situation. Now, in addition to what has been done since the 9th, the left turns from Route 29 to Rio East are going to continue to be monitored during the peak hours to observe the signal timing. The Rio Road East signalized intersection that provides access both to Fashion Square and Albemarle Square, those queues will continue to be monitored. And a mobile traffic counter is going to be used to collect some traffic data at 29th and 29, at Berkmar and Rio Road West, because of the new crossover at 29 at Berkmar, and Woodbrook and Route 29, because we said we wanted to know what was going on at the adjacent intersections as well. And Joel, if you could fill in or elaborate on those last 3 bullets that you and I talked about.
Right before he does that,
Yeah.
the only observation I had was actually yesterday with the, I don't know if you know, but Albemarle Square was used for the United Way Dave Caring kickoff.
Oh, okay.
And there was, I guess, a huge influx of traffic changes, or just a large amount of traffic. So I don't know if there needs to be some communication with VDOT, because you can remotely change the signal timing and all that, can't we now?
Yes.
So
yes.
for those big events and stuff, because the one that comes to mind is, the toy lift that'll be happening.
Sure.
The amount of traffic they'll be turning, trying to get ahead of that.
Well, Karen, I know Karen has been great about notifying us in advance of any.
Lift is in December, and I've already.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was not aware. I don't know that maybe the residents
Well, that's good.
was.
So, yeah.
I wasn't aware of yesterday.
I don't know if there's anything else happening in Albemarle Square. That was my only observation.
Okay.
There were people waiting like 3 light cycles to take that left heading southbound. But that, just because you had a lot of people trying to.
Yeah. Well, we'll make sure that the managers of Albemarle Square know to let us know in advance, or if we can get a calendar, Lou, of any
I can't think of
upcoming
anything else.
events.
This is all Fashion Square, but it sounds like Karen's got.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Joel, why don't you talk about what you're going to be monitoring a bit here?
Okay, so the dual left turns coming 29 southbound. We've had some concern over the interior lane making a U-turn and having conflicts with the right turning traffic. So they can. I talked to Northwest Regional Operations Friday, Monday, and Tuesday about all these items. And basically, in the hour between 4:30 and 6 at this point, they're monitoring certain situations through the cameras. They got pretty good camera coverage from the whole area, and they can take the Rio camera, pretty much zoom on adjacent intersections also. So they're going to be looking for cues there and looking for conflicts and seeing. We haven't made any changes there yet, but we understand there's some concern there, so we'll keep an eye on that. The Rio Road East signalized intersection, the biggest concern was as we have traffic not being able to come out of Albemarle Square at the signalized intersection on 29 to take a left, there's going to be more traffic coming out of there, and Albemarle Square was concerned about having queuing in their parking lot. So we have to visually monitor that because we actually can't get a camera on that. So we have people looking at that in the afternoon also to see if we're seeing queues there and to see if we can allow some more green time if needed. We don't have any information on that yet. And the mobile traffic counters, that's really to start collecting data to see what we're seeing now versus what we see in the summertime to see if we need to make any changes.
Well, we'd want to know what this temporary
Yeah, what
what
we're
this
seeing now.
temporary
Yeah.
intersection is providing, and how it's being used.
I'd like to go back up to the green time added on September 16th, because that's kind of an interesting point. That's really a result of the new communication systems being in place. They were actually, after we did.
When you say the new communication
Phase
system.
1 of the adaptive.
Yeah.
Now, if you say phase 1 of the adaptive to traffic folks, they're like, well, it's not phase 1 adaptive, it's communications upgrade. So
Well, none of
they're
them
not
are in
happy
the
with
room,
us.
so we'll say.
But with the new software they have for being able to make changes on the fly, and the new monitoring capabilities with the new cameras, what they did was they actually, after they made the traffic switch, they went back to September 8th and 9th data, and they looked at that left turn lane specifically, and they were able to calculate the percentage of time that queue was cleared between the hours of 3 and 7. They had that data collected. It continuously collects data. And you'll see this on our trip to the TOC, but here's the advantage. They took that data and they knew that before they made that traffic switch, that queue was clearing. That queue was not clearing in the peak hour about 65% of the time. Immediately after making that traffic switch, we knew that queue was not clearing about 95% of the time. So we had a 30%, what's that? It was not clearing. It was not. In the peak hour. So we knew we were getting additional queues immediately after. And it's pretty easy to say, oh, well, that makes sense. There's more traffic. The other thing they were able to calculate was that phase, that left turn phase from 3 to 7 was skipped because there was no traffic there about 30% of the time in those same hours. And about after the traffic switch, that phase was only skipped about 5% of the time. So there's much more demand on that left turn lane. So taking that into consideration, our traffic engineer then said, well, we need to look at adding more green time. And the impact is adding more green time there takes away from your northbound movement, which between 3 and 7 can be an impact. So then through visual observation of the cameras, he was able to determine if he added 4 seconds of green time there that would help clear those queues back to the norm, he would not be affecting the platooning traffic on northbound 29. He'd be affecting what they call random arrivals. And if you stop those random arrivals more often, all that does is put them at the front of the platoon. So he determined, basically based on that, he could add 4 seconds of green time, keep the traffic on northbound 29 going, and get that queue cleared better. And he was able to do that within about an hour, which is pretty I think it's impressive.
Setting it in the northwest.
Never leaving his office. He
Yeah.
can actually, yeah, he really enjoys it too, I'll just tell you. It's pretty neat technology, what they can see. And the biggest difference in this technology that I learned the past couple days going there and observing it is they're now, it used to be for like all of Mark and everybody that went through this in school, you go and you sit in an intersection, you count all the cars, and then you program your corridor, and you hope it works. And you observe it, and you make changes. Well, now they basically take yesterday's data and see where improvements need to be made based on real traffic, and they can analyze all this information and make it. They don't have to program it anymore. It's all data driven versus study driven. It's pretty impressive.
That's an excellent explanation of why we split the adaptive signal project into 2 phases and wanted this in place before next summer.
Yeah. So they're gonna, I feel, seeing the first results of that, I feel pretty good that we made some good decisions.
Does any of this have implications for the length of the turn lane?
Yes.
And I'm going into that too. The time that it's being analyzed now, he said it's the peak time, 3 to 7. Is that 3 to 7 Monday through Friday? Because the peak time for that left turn lane is probably more so on weekends even. So is that being analyzed as well?
What do you know the hours that you think it might be peak in the weekends? Because we can look at that.
1 to 4, 2 to 4.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, definitely Saturday. Yeah, that's
Well, we'll
Joel,
he can pull the same data.
Yeah, I was going to say,
He can pull
we
the
can
data
get,
from.
we can get her into it, but
meter traffic.
NWRO should be able to
That
determine
left
when
turn,
that peak
but
hour.
then again, using it to cut through, that may be making changes too.
Well, we'll
so.
take a look at that, and we can analyze those hours and see, with those percentages, knowing how often the traffic getting cut off, we can see if there's an increase in demand there, and if it's not performing pretty easily. So we'll look at that.
Okay.
Friday.
No, that's
So, no, but Dave, you
That's great.
earlier,
Oh, just
Go ahead,
that's the kind of
please,
feedback we need. Though. if we can observe all sorts of data, we can analyze all sorts of data, but things like that are, if we know we need to observe a certain time, that's great feedback for us.
Dave,
Yeah, the length, the storage.
months ago, we had mentioned 50 additional feet would be added both to 29th as well as Woodbrook.
Yes.
So how does what we're learning fit into that?
I think it validates the result that we saw in the design builder's traffic model, that it needed an additional storage length of at least 50 feet to handle that increase in traffic. But this timing change was also planned as part of, the reason there were 6 signals that were changed as a result of the phase 1 traffic analysis. So the work that's going on right now, the design builder had developed signal timings for 8 signals for phase 1, and we are starting phase 1. So we said, let's go ahead and implement those timing changes. That signal was one of them. Actually, the design builder's model said 3 seconds. The traffic engineer at VDOT said we can give 4 seconds, so we went ahead with 4. But there's a lot of changes that are coming, and some that are being implemented even today as a result of the impact of removing those crossovers and those signals. Now, the storage length is really critical when we close the Ryder crossover next summer. So we need to have that in place prior to that. It's not critical now. It will become critical when we close that crossover, because it's going to push even more traffic down to those adjacent signals.
Right.
And so Woodbrook and 29th Place would be lengthened before May of next year.
So that's definitely a 50 feet is for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no less than 50.
No less than 50.
Right, yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. I put these maps in here because, or these pictures, just to let you know that Lou, and I guess Chris as well, there was some feedback from the chamber. Is that where it came from? There was some feedback.
Yeah.
There was some feedback that said, as part of this September 9th deal, in addition to a larger graphic, it would be good to have something available to give to the businesses specifically for each one of the quadrants. So these were prepared for and have been distributed. 500 copies, I can't, sticks in my mind, have been distributed to the flyers to the businesses in each one of the quadrants. So I wanted you to see what they were for the Northeast, the next one, the Northwest, and then the Southeast and the Southwest. And Lou, correct me if I'm wrong, but each one of those businesses knows that if they would like to have additional copies of the flyer, to let you know, and we'll get those to them. So I thought that wasn't something we had originally anticipated, but through some feedback, getting ready for September the 9th, this request was made, and we jumped on it pretty quick, again with some help from our friends at SIR to pull this together quickly. And Lou, Chris, thank you guys for getting out there pretty fast, or Andrew, whoever did it. I know you all got out there quickly to distribute these. So thanks. And we had them printed locally.
Zip
at
over in Gardens.
Zip print.
Garden
Okay.
Shopping Center.
So we used a local business to print them. Thank you very much. On the Todd signing, just an update here, and I've got a little update since the update, as a matter of fact. Remember, we had 38 businesses that were determined to be qualifying businesses. 5 of them already have signs. As of Friday, 7 new businesses had applied. As of this morning, 9 have applied, submitted the application to participate in addition to the 5 that are already out there, Kirk's Ice Cream in the Northeast Quadrant, Kirk's Ice Cream, Taco Bell, Chopsticks Express, Sam's Kitchen, and Al Carbon Chicken have applied. In the Southeast, no one has applied. Jimmy John's is already out there. In the Northwest Quadrant, Brick Oven has applied. Tropical Smoothie and Chick-fil-A already are part of the Todd's program. In the Southwest Quadrant, Hardee's, Hess, and Starbucks have applied, and Firehouse Subs and Carmelo's Restaurant are already participating. We initially set we had set a September 1st deadline for these businesses to apply so we could stay on our schedule to fabricate the signs and have them erected. I talked to the Todd's folks a couple times driving out here today because, frankly, I was just a little bit concerned, while on one hand, there are probably some folks that think, well, if not too many apply, then we won't have too many signs out there to deal with. My concern is really the other way. I wanted to make sure that if we have 38 qualifying businesses, that they all are well aware that they can participate in this program for a couple of years at no cost to them. So what we're going to do is have Lou go back out and check with these businesses. And as long as if they indicate that they have an interest, they don't necessarily need to sit down and fill out the entire application right now. Business owners are busy being in business, and not everybody has time or remembers to take time to fill out an application. We know that there's 38 qualifying businesses out there. Now, we can't just run out and make a sign for everybody. There at least has to be some proactive step on the part of the business. But Lou, if between now and September the 30th, they let you know that, yes, we would like to participate, then we can figure out the formal part of the application. We'd still have to get that done because there's some information that the Todd's program needs. But as long as you can go out with a, yeah, I'm in, or no, I'm not interested, between now and the end of the month, we can take care of the rest. Now, at the end of the month, the day before our next meeting, the Todd's folks are going to come out to the project office, and we're going to sit down together and look at from Woodbrook down to, what's the name of that street? I always forget. Division?
Dominion.
What's our division? Dominion. Dominion?
Yeah, Dominion.
At the south end?
Is that it, Dominion? Okay. We're going to sit down and look at a plan for that entire area that we could then discuss with you at our October the 1st meeting. I was just a little concerned that not many people were, I expected 38 businesses, like on day 2, 36 of them would have said, yes, I want to get in on this. But I do understand that people are busy and there are other issues perhaps, so we're going to make it easy to say, I want to be a part of it.
It actually probably takes some proactive expediting because, as I mentioned before, I said landmark businesses are more important to identify because people can then connect that business to other businesses. For example, if I tell you where is Al Carbon, you have probably no clue.
Yeah.
I didn't have a clue until a couple of weeks ago. It's Coors brother, Coors
Right. Ice cream.
Everybody knows what that is. And Al Carbon is actually behind it. So my concern is that we might get the Al Carbons of this world and the Coors ice cream, which is a distinctive structure highly visible from the road is not on it.
Well,
That's my concern.
well, I think from that point of view, we'll be as proactive as possible, and all we need that particular person to say is, yes, I want to participate in the program. And if they don't have time to fill out the application, that's fine, we'll figure that out later. But we do need someone from the qualifying business to say, yes, count us in, and as long as we get that between now and the end of the month, then we can remain on schedule to fabricate, receive, and install the signs.
To me, it sounds almost like some of these landmark structures, they have to be in it if they want to or not. I mean, from a theoretical point of view.
I do understand that to a point, and I came close to saying, why don't we just make signs for 38 businesses? But I don't believe it's my place to obligate the state to make a sign for a business who may say, I didn't want to be included in this. Right? So, but all they need to do between now and the end of the month is say, count me in, and we'll take care of the paperwork.
What I'm saying is those guys that have a distinctive and visible structure need to be beaten over the head.
Well, you should tee those up right before Luke comes to see them. No, look,
Maybe I have to go Whistler.
we'll
Be my consultant.
Yeah.
we'll work hard at it, Henry, because I understand exactly what you're saying.
A lot of the smaller businesses, people today have no clue where they are.
Right. I understand.
But people have the clue where some of those that are highly visible, who they are.
I understand.
Perhaps if we have that list of the 38 at Monday's meeting, we could use that for some peer pressure from the guys.
I told you you're going to get a lot of signs.
From the guys on the committee, guys and ladies on the committee, to help to influence.
Or should I take that as a request for the
Yes.
list? Okay, all right. You'll have
Will you
the.
share it with the rest of us?
If one gets it, everybody gets it.
Since I'm supposed to help you.
If one gets it, everybody gets it. Yes.
Start circling the ones I believe that need to be on there.
Yeah, I understand.
While
I
other
understand.
people, they may like to be there, they may qualify, so they can be on there.
We have.
They say, well, I'm not interested, or they sleep on it. There isn't much lost.
Okay, all right. We have really worked this hard, and even though those folks aren't here in the room with us today, I really want to hand it to the Van and her team in the central office have made what I was worried was going to be a difficult process to figure out fairly simple. And what we've asked from Dave is, Dave, you give us the perimeter where we can't be, because we can't put these signs up in the way of the construction folks, because I think, as we've said, if a sign's in their way, I know what's happening to it. It's not let's stop the construction equipment and go out and carefully relocate it. That won't happen.
That excavator's going to hit.
So Dave is going to give us the kind of no sign zone in the construction area, and then we will figure out the layout of everything else, and that's what we're going to look at on the day before our next meeting.
Dave has given.
You've given it to, you've given it.
And we'll provide again if necessary.
I'm sure you will.
So right now, you only have 12 potential candidates that you're going to have between the existing and the new applications.
There are 38, there are 5 existing, and 9 have applied.
9, not 7.
9. So,
Okay.
so that's 14, 24. 38 is 24 and 14, 38?
The 5 that are currently on it are inside of the 38.
are inside of the 38, so plus the 9,
Yeah.
that's 14.
That 14 that we know will be there, all the other people died tomorrow.
Or said no. Yes.
Either one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So right now, we're only up to 14.
Yes.
Out of the potential 30.
38, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lou, you
All
have a
right. Let's get those numbers up, guys. Morgan, we didn't plan this for when you weren't here. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of signs out there, I think. Anyway, we talked a lot about this placemaking issue. We had John Martin here last meeting, who wrapped up, hey, here's what we've learned from the focus groups, and here's what we think based on what we've learned. As we've told you that once we got to that point, we're going to hand off John's report to the county for whatever use you should choose to make of it in their small area planning work, or in advance of that, on a schedule, so that by the end of the year we can forward a recommendation, or more than one recommendation perhaps, for VDOT's consideration. And Lee is kind enough to join us today to give us the plan now from the county side on how they will be using that information and schedule to get it back to us. Lee?
Thank you, Philip. Good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate the chance to continue the discussion on the place naming work. First of all, I wanted to say, having sat in last meeting and hearing John present it, we felt like it provides a really good, solid foundation to go forward with in terms of talking about this to the community and the Board of Supervisors. As Philip mentioned, in the ideal world, the small area plan would already be underway, and this would fold very nicely into that work. We're a little bit ahead of that work, but we still do think we've got several good mechanisms in place over the next couple months that will let us have a good vetting of this in time for the board to have their discussion and get back to you by the end of the year. So just wanted to share a few things that we have in mind. And Mr. Sheffield has already, I believe, shared the original work with the Board of Supervisors. We followed up with them with a little bit of expectation of what's going to be happening, so they won't be surprised by any of this work as well. Our basic motivation here is to let as many people in the affected area have the opportunity to be aware of the work and to provide any comment that they might in advance of this being adopted and formally be the naming program for the area. So we have some mechanisms to do that. Board of Supervisors has appointed community advisory committees for each of our master plan communities. We used to have one huge one for Places 29, which is the master plan area that's in question here. That became pretty unwieldy, so they decided to appoint 3 subgroups. Each of the Board of Supervisors member in that area has a subgroup advisory committee. They have just been appointed. We are expecting that they will all meet in October. So those are 3 very good groups to have this place naming discussion with. Also, we have a pretty comprehensive neighborhood association database. We're able to sort it geographically, so we can go through and cull out the ones that really are in the most proximity to the area that we're talking about. So we can have some conversation with those neighborhood associations and have them use the mechanisms they have. We have broader targeted or less targeted things, but still effective things like our county, we call it A-mail. It's really an email news service. This is a kind of frequent thing that we would put out to people, advising them to go to the Route 29 Solutions website that we have on our own website. It's nothing that duplicates what VDOT's already doing on their great website, but it has more detail on the issues that are more pertinent to Albemarle County, like what are we doing with our neighborhood mitigation, what's our business assistance plan. There's a tab in that site for neighborhood information, so this we felt would be a good place to put something up there. We have our business assistance subcommittee, as has already been mentioned, and we have a pretty good email list of businesses in that area as well. So really our strategy is to try to make the opportunity as widely available as possible during the month of October for people to be up to speed on the work that's been done so far, provide any information to us. We have a discussion plan with the Board of Supervisors at their November 4th meeting, which will allow us to have preliminary information back to you by November 12th. And then we have some time before their December 2nd meeting if there's any kind of last-minute things that we need to revisit or additional things we want to do in that month of November. We have one more opportunity to talk to the board in December before your end-of-the-year deadline. Just as a last note, I would say, and then I'm happy for any questions or suggestions or comments, Chip and Peter and I have been working with the Business Assistance Subcommittee. You all are aware that there is going to be a pretty major collective marketing campaign going in the spring. SIR is already doing that work, so the synergy is already in place. The naming will be very important as a foundation for what happens with their marketing campaign. They've got some ideas on how we may be able to extend that or play with that a little bit. So that will also possibly be in discussion and come back to you in some form or fashion at future meetings.
Okay. Questions for Lee? Lee, thanks a bunch. I guess just a couple of things. I want to be sure that we do whatever we can, and we, I guess, VDOT or myself, whatever we can to help you, or if you need more information, I mean, just sing out.
Right.
Make sure you get that. Could you come back just briefly on October 1 and October?
Certainly.
There's 3 meetings. We have 3 meetings in October. I'd like to just stay in tune with
Sure.
where you are as you move through this. And then we only have 1 meeting in November, the November 12th meeting. So that would be kind of a key time to get at least some preliminary information. You will have met with the board.
The board will have had their
Yeah,
first discussion
okay.
on this, so I would imagine we'll have some pretty good sense of their reaction, and is there any
Yeah.
work that needs to be done.
Okay.
By the 12th, we'll have a good insight on that, I think.
Because I've got a feeling this group will have a pretty robust discussion, and with all of that input from the focus groups and SIR and whatever, input comes into the county, that.
Right. And I think
That'll work well.
Mark can certainly chime in because community development staff and county executive staff we've had some discussions about the small area plan timing and this, and I
Right.
think our sense is right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the naming and as it's being put forward doesn't close any doors to something that might happen in the small area plan that might take it to a more defined level.
Mhm.
Right, that's possibility is still there. So I think we think it's a really good conversation to have this fall, and it doesn't close the door to things in the small area plan evolving maybe to a next place.
I have a question. The small area plan is going to cover all 4 corners of this intersection, or just one corner or quadrant at a time?
No, it'll cover all 4. It'll actually be a little more expansive, just a little bit more expansive, we think, than the project area. That's still getting nailed down, but it will cover at least the VDOT project area.
Okay.
And Lee, I think this is clear, but just to be certain, the work we handed off to you is John Martin's view of what came out of the focus groups, and may or may not be anyone else's view. So it's not a recommendation per se that we're passing off to you. It's just really information, and here's how John saw it at the end. So
I think that makes great
Yeah.
sense. The slideshow itself is really very explanatory, I
Yeah.
think, about the process that he went through, and think as we talk to the community and to the board, it really shows a very validated process that I think they'll appreciate as a starting point for the discussion.
All right, all right. Hey, Lee,
All right.
thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Really appreciate
I'll
it.
look forward to coming back.
Yeah, okay. We'll see you in 2.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. That is our last item. New business and wrap-up. Pete?
So several meetings ago, maybe a couple months ago, we talked about the idea of documenting the construction as it unfolded, with the idea of possibly like a time-lapse video.
Yeah.
Have we made any progress?
Yes, the camera will be installed very shortly. We selected a location which was the existing signal pole in the northeast quadrant of the 29th place, the Madison Square Drive intersection, so Virginia National Bank, the pole that's right there in front of that. We're going to leave that pole up throughout construction. We're going to mount our camera to the top of that pole. The only thing we're waiting on right now is for the mast arm, the horizontal arm that comes up, to be removed so that a contractor doesn't go up there later, try to remove it and damage the camera, or move it so that it stays in the same place so we get a quality time-lapse video at the end and during construction. So that, I'm anticipating that will be installed next week, and we will have the link on our website to that camera for anyone to access at any time.
So it's a live feed you can look in.
It takes pictures,
Okay.
but it is a live feed. I mean, you go to the website, it shows you the last picture that was taken until the next picture is taken, and it shows that. And you can play a time lapse
Yeah.
of all the pictures taken to date.
So it will have that feature of sort of the running time lapse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Will that congestion camera that's already there stay?
No.
Congestion.
Cameras.
There's a camera already there for traffic.
Oh, there's a signal camera there. There's cameras on adjacent.
Right.
We don't have a congestion camera per se on the Berkmar crossing.
But you have a monitoring the camera, right?
Yes.
I think that's what.
All the infrastructure that's there with
Yeah.
those signals will eventually be removed. That camera will be removed shortly, I believe.
That camera. Which camera are we?
The one on the signal at the northern entrance and exit to Pasture Mall.
Okay. But isn't there another camera?
There's
up
one
on
right at the
that-
SunTrust Bank.
Yeah,
It's the same
yeah.
pole that you're going to mount this. It's a live feed
No,
24/7.
not SunTrust, Virginia National, further south, down 29. This is across from the northern entrance on 29 to the mall,
On the west side.
Yeah.
on the west side of the road.
Right.
Yes.
So my question will still stand though. Is that
Yes.
is that live feed camera's going to stay at the SunTrust where that pole is?
And that's a
Yes.
yes.
Until
Public
that-
access?
Yeah, it's going to be out the
Yeah.
website.
It is public
Okay,
access.
good.
I try to stay off the VDOT's website. As much as I like y'all.
If you
Yeah,
look
that's
up
live.
just VDOT traffic cameras,
Yeah.
Charlottesville,
And it'll give you the
yeah,
intersection.
you'll see, yeah.
So Dave, we think that's going to be the live feed construction camera should be operational before our next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Pete, anything else?
No, that's good to hear that.
Okay.
And we will have one for Berkmar as well, but that's going to be down the road a little bit. We've coordinated with Doubletree Hotel, and they're kind enough to allow us to put the camera on top of the hotel to capture good images of the footage.
Is that a VDOT exercise, or are you subbing that out?
That is a VDOT exercise. We purchased the cameras from a company called Oxblue, and they create the website, and they host the website. We have a link.
Yeah, they do a good job.
Oxblue?
Yes.
Ox Blue.
Why can't tech companies have, like, local names? Sorry.
Someday I'll tell you the story of spending days trying to think what to name my company until a light bulb went on and said, well, I'll make this pretty easy.
It was taken.
Ox Blue was taken, yeah. Ox Blue, Synergetics or whatever, yeah. I went the Myers route and said, my name is something I will remember.
Real quickly, just related and a little bit unrelated. VDOT, I know a lot of the folks here are only interested in the Route 29 project, but working with the Lynchburg office has been so good of lately. I just want to kind of say a thank you, because what a lot of you don't know is there's something called House Bill 2 and that whole funding cycle that's brand new for the state. And the Lynchburg district has just been working tirelessly to help us and the local governments to submit these packages, while at the same time not missing a beat with projects like Route 29. And it's very noticeable, the effort that's going in by the Lynchburg.
So are they helping all the other districts? Or just, I was just curious, I don't know.
We don't care about the other.
Well, no, I know. I know you don't.
Yeah.
It's just assume nobody tells me.
Yeah. Okay, good.
But it's been incredible with no slowdown with all the other work that they've been doing.
Good.
It's really good.
Good. Oh, good.
Is that Lynchburg or Culpeper?
I'm sorry, Culpeper. Okay, Culpeper.
Okay, I was trying to. Okay.
Yeah, I'm used to it. Yeah, we just left the meeting. The Culpeper.
No, all right. I thought, well, that's mighty nice of them.
Yeah, Culpeper district. Well, we do have one, and I should give credit to one of our counties is in the Lynchburg.
All right.
And they've been doing the same, but the Culpeper district especially.
Well, good deal.
Yeah, sorry.
Good deal.
We like the Lynchburg district.
Yeah.
Good deal. Mark? Brad? Karen?
I just wanted to follow up. We had talked, I think, a couple meetings ago. Last year, we were looking at the scope of the project coming out, and then with the schedule now this year in October with the retention walls work starting. We talked about getting some visuals, because I think even you mentioned that it's going to be a big change even coming up soon, what we can expect to see out there as far as equipment and what that boring and
Yes,
that's going to
yes.
be.
I've got that on my list here for October.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Doesn't it start in October then? So.
Well, should start. Yeah, it will start in October. So, but we need it. Yeah. It will be coming soon, but I think we'll actually want to get some of the work from the very beginning to get some visuals, and then have Dave, either you, Dave, or if you want to bring somebody in from the contractor to talk a bit more specifically about their means and methods and what can be expected, because it'll be noticeable.
It has to be a photograph, it's a visual. We don't have to do a video, but
Yeah. Oh, no.
even
Yeah,
I think you had last year like some drawing type.
That we did.
An idea
We
of
did.
scope of height and just the whole.
Yeah.
I think we can do a little better than last year. There is a engineer that works for Lane Corman who's been working on this for several months now.
I'm sure.
And I actually spoke with him last night about that very thing and asked him if he might want to come in and help me explain what they're doing. But he's got some mock-ups, I guess we could call it, of different ways of how this is going to work, to really plan out how best they can do it, that he might be able to bring in to share, that show kind of a section of the pile through the tube that's put in the ground, and how the concrete's poured around it, and two separate pours for two different kinds of concrete, and the type of equipment. I know they are planning on using a crawler crane, which is a pretty large crane that they'll kind of tuck back in the median area at the end of the day, because it takes 20 minutes for this crane to move, a couple hundred feet. It's a pretty large piece of equipment to help do that more efficiently and more quickly.
Can we do that October 1? If we're not going to be either that or in NWRO on October 15?
I think so.
I mean, I don't think we'd want to go. October 1 would be good if we can do that.
I think so.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Henry?
Oh, I'm fine.
Henry? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. With that, we're Done. Lee, thank you again.